Okay, we are recording. Test, test. Matt, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, Jennifer, would you mind testing, Mike?
Test, test, test. Can you hear me? Awesome.
All right, here we go. Well, Nick Aracco here. I'm the host of Level Up and the founder and CEO of Achieve Next. Each week, we'll be talking to some of the smartest and most interesting executives in North America about their insights, their journeys, their strategies, and opinions for leaders of emerging and mid-market enterprises seeking exponential growth. Today, I have Jennifer Yousem, founder of I Heart EBITDA and an owner and managing director of supporting strategies with me as my guest. Having met and worked with thousands of finance leaders throughout my journey as CEO and founder of the CFO Alliance, I can say without hesitation that Jennifer has established and embraced her reputation with me and many others as one of the most interesting women in finance and business today. Level Up is brought to you by Achieve Next. Achieve Next empowers individuals, teams, and enterprises to meet ambitious growth goals through our powerful combination of peer-to-peer learning and solutions. We bring together thousands of the top finance and HR leaders from across North America to connect and share business and industry insights through our alliance networks. We also empower individuals and teams and enterprises through powerful solutions that include diversity, equity, and inclusion training and leadership development, business relationship training, and executive coaching for individuals and teams. This powerful combination helps today's business leaders level up and achieve next level growth. Learn more at achievenext.com. I want to introduce my guest for today, Jennifer Yousem. Jennifer started her career in equity research, but pivoted into corporate finance for media companies after business school and led teams in strategic and operational finance at companies like Sony, Paramount, Viacom, Clear Channel, and Daily Mail. Jennifer was part of the team tasked with launching Verizon Hearst Media Partners in 2016, and as their CFO, helped lead the merger with Complex to form Complex Networks, a multi-platform digital lifestyle brand owned by Verizon and Hearst. If that was not interesting enough, Jennifer founded I Heart EBITDA in 2019 to bring enterprise level finance and operational expertise to the mid-market through fractional CFO services, and then determined there was a need to bring those same services to and the entire finance function by purchasing Supporting Strategies Queens that provides outsourced bookkeeping and controller services for small to medium-sized businesses. So she now covers the full gamut of fractional CFO through outsourced bookkeeping and controller services to a broad array of clients. Jennifer, welcome to Level Up. Jennifer, we have so much to talk about today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big Nick fan, so.
So Jennifer, I opened this podcast with a little bit of an insight into your journey, which I told you the day we met, I found fascinating, and why I believed you had such an opportunity to do meaningful, impactful work, regardless of whether or not you dedicated your time, energy, and effort to one company and their strategy or performance, or today, like you do with Supporting Strategies and I Heart EBITDA, to many companies. So my first question is, what were the early days of your career like, and how did that shape where you are today?
I mean, when you start off in finance, I think there's a very prescribed path for you. In fact, you can look it up. You're an analyst, you're a senior analyst, then you're a manager, maybe you're a senior manager. And so while it's great to follow that path, it's also really important to keep your eyes open for opportunities to skip or, get new, skill sets by kind of, it really is about taking advantage of what you see around you and being aware and making yourself known as a person that people will call on when they need help.
So I have a feeling that part of you, is part of your DNA as well. So I'm curious about the early days of Jennifer Yousem. Part of the story that lends itself to where we are today and the meaningful work you're doing with a broad array of companies across the greater New York area and across North America, it can be attributed, I'm sure, to your roots and where it all began. So tell us a bit about your background. What inspired you to steer your early learnings and career path towards finance? Was it a person? Was it a thing? Was there a moment in time that you said, you know what, there's where I'm going?
So my parents, both very entrepreneurial. My dad started his own property management business, led a very successful one for many years. My mom was a manufacturer's rep for many different lines, and traveled. When I was young, she was one of the few working moms, and so come from a long line of people that are really hard workers. And from a finance became a thing for me because I love math. So even as a young kid, like I used to do my mom's expense reports, which just says so much about.
Did you charge her for that, Jennifer?
I mean, she charged me dinner. So basically, I loved doing them. I loved the concept of ticking and tying. And then, one of my earliest jobs, high school jobs, was retail.
Okay.
At a very high-end jewelry store. And, I think anybody that knows me, I just really wasn't a retail person.
Okay.
So,
what does that mean? You weren't a retail person?
The whole smiley all the time and let me show you something. But I was great at closing out the till at the end of the day and kind of doing that ticking and tying. And so I was a bookkeeper's assistant in high school.
Wow.
And I probably should have known that would, eventually lead to a finance career. But it's really my sister, actually, who has been in financial services her whole career, gave me an internship, and I really enjoyed it. It was grown-up finance.
Yeah. It's funny when people like you and I talk to others who view finance from, let's say, 100 feet away, at times they confuse finance with financial services. So your first entry point, really beyond the expense reporting and bookkeeping, was an entree into financial services, like you said, through your sister. But you didn't go down the financial services path. You chose the finance path. What was there something that you liked or didn't like, or because I can't tell you how many times I have to correct people. I'm like, finance is not financial services, right?
Yes, very, very, very different.
Yep.
I was, I want to say I was lucky. I scrapped my way into an internship at Morgan Stanley in London.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a story. That's a podcast in and of itself.
And I would say I fell into equity research there. That was what the internship was. And I thought, this is pretty cool. It's finance. It's got a storytelling aspect to it. It's not financial services. So it had this nice, so that was kind of my career path. I came back, I leaned into my studies to support that. And then, those jobs were not available in LA at the time. That's where I'm from. And so I begged. I offered to work for free for a company that had an opening, and he was a Wall Street all-star analyst at the time. So I knew I was going to learn incredible stuff. But you know what? You think you know what you want to do,
right?
And then you do it for a while, and you realize it wasn't exactly.
I now know what I don't want to do. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So there were many things about it that I loved. Did not love getting up at 4 a.m. and that part of it, but it just wasn't what I loved. And so, you get to your point, you're like, finance, financial services, is there an area in there that's going to suit me? And corporate finance was it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let's talk about that journey. I mean, there probably couldn't have been a more robust and interesting time to move into corporate finance, into the media sector as well. So talk to us a bit about that journey. And once again, another podcast episode there on that time spent in the wild, wild west of, this is how we always did things. Now we have to determine how things will be done today and in the future, and what pieces are missing, and how do we most effectively put these pieces together, which from a strategy and execution standpoint, I don't know how you slept during that time period, but talk to us a bit about that.
Well, I'm gonna really date myself, because when I started in media, I started in DVDs.
Wow.
So
For our young listeners, they'll go Google what that means.
Yes, physical media, a disc thing. So when I started my career, I was actually in the DVD rentailer space, which Blockbusters, movie galleries, and this newcomer called Netflix that was mailing DVDs out to people. And so the thing that was fascinating about my first role was it was very much a combination of finance, optimization, how many DVDs are going to go to each store, what's the right amount, but it was also it was rev share.
All right.
So it's a very kind of sophisticated concept for a very basic product.
Because companies like that were used to owning their revenue streams and owning their P&Ls, and all of a sudden are we borrowing? Are we partnering? How does this work, right?
Right. And oh, by the way, if you want to take 100 copies of Spider-Man per store, so that Friday night when you go, everybody gets a copy of Spider-Man, you're also going to have to take 20 copies of Baywatch 3. So there's also that whole thing. So that was a great, it was so exciting for me to be able to do the thing that I loved on a studio lot. Like, coolest job ever.
I bet you had a strut in your step as you went to work each day walking through there.
It's a very, being able to say, like, I work on the Sony lot is a very cool thing to put out there.
Yeah.
Yes, it feels very good. And then I was able to, studio hopping is pretty popular.
Yeah.
So, you hop from one studio to the other. And so I was able to hop to Paramount after that, which was great. And got to pick up a bigger P&L and a bigger piece of it. So, like, if I look at my career, I kind of worked my way down from revenue all the way down to EBITDA.
Okay.
So it started off at revenue at Sony, then moved to gross margins, because I got some insight into manufacturing now.
Yes.
And what that would mean, and got to really see how licensing works. And so that was a great jump for me.
What do you, when you think about culture in those companies, how would you describe the best of, and maybe, I don't want to say the worst of, but where areas of where they could have worked on it a bit better, and what drove the best of the culture, what triggered and the need to address some issues on culture? And you don't have to name names, but just give me an idea.
No, I mean, it's you hit the nail on the head. There's a certain cachet that comes with working for these companies. Mm-hmm. So I think they rest on that without having to develop culture as much, because you get that, and you get to go to the commissary for lunch, and you get to maybe see a star while you're walking on the lot.
Right.
That goes a long way, but it can't be something that's in exchange of it.
Yeah.
And then from a business perspective, the studio's system has always been slow to adopt, new technologies, new things. So I think you get people there that they're lifers.
Right.
They stay there. So it's if you are, I don't say aggressive, you are assertive.
Right.
If you are scrappy,
Mhm.
I think there's a big push towards, this is how we do our reporting. We do it the same way every quarter. It's a hard place to innovate.
Well, but you clearly built strong business relationships in the industry, in these companies. You wouldn't have been able to navigate the art of the deals that you had to put together internally and externally without that. If I asked one or more of your colleagues from that time to describe Jennifer Yousem, how would they describe you as you walked those lots?
I would say assertive would probably be fair. I mean, and I've always prided myself on being scrappy. I get things done.
Yeah.
I gonna figure it out no matter what. It may not be the right way. It may not be the smoothest way. I'm going to get it done though. So there's no worry there.
Well, when we met, you were in the midst of the not only the deal components themselves, but the performance. And that once you had put those pieces in place to drive top line, bottom line, and shareholder value as a result of all those pieces you put together. But what I always found, the first words out of your mouth were questions, not answers. And talk to me about that. Is that just a natural part of your DNA, that intellectual curiosity? Because you seem to get more done and you seem to establish your credibility based more upon the questions that you ask than the answers that you give.
I appreciate that. I have grown into a place of I'm not for everyone.
Okay.
And so, yes, I like to be very, I want to know everything. And I like to be direct about the questions that I ask. That can be, not going to say off-putting, but those direct conversations are what lead to good discussions and real headway in both personal relationships and business.
They definitely stimulate a reaction and action, either way, good, bad, or
Yes.
otherwise.
Yes.
I take it you don't do maintenance mode, Jennifer, and therefore your clients that you're now working with through I Heart EBITDA and supporting strategies don't do maintenance mode either. Is that why they have you and your team?
For some, yes. But even the ones that are on maintenance mode, I tell my staff, and it's the same thing I would hope my clients want, but you can't make them want it, which is there's always a better way.
Yeah.
There's always a better technology. There's always a better system, but it requires a lot of time.
Yes.
And energy. I mean, you have to, if you're going to break something and put it back together, you're going to be pretty unhappy in that process, but the outcome is going to be amazing. So not a lot of clients, are excited about completely breaking everything and starting again.
Well, I've never seen you think, act, speak without purpose in mind, or at least attempt to derive and drive purpose. So you're purposeful in what you do. You don't break it for the sake of breaking it and don't have your clients break it for the sake of breaking it. But I do remember when you announced to our team and our networks your move from, we'll call it the media conglomerate, the corporate America, to embrace that entrepreneurial spirit that you have, but with strong, dedicated financial focus and very targeted demographics in mind. Talk to us about that decision-making journey, because you didn't just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm considered one of the peak finance leaders in this industry. I think I'll leave it now to do X.
It's funny that you say it that way. I look back at the big decisions in my life and realize how many of them, I don't want to say came from an an accidental something.
Okay.
So I don't want to make it sound like it happened to me, because I think it has to be a combination of, again, being aware of your surroundings and taking advantage of opportunities when they come forward.
Okay.
So, when I left my last role, I was looking for my next thing, as we do.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the next things felt exactly like the things I had already had.
Okay.
And that is the surest way to kill me. I did not want to do the same thing. And actually, through CFO Alliance, I started a fractional consulting role, with a media client, and it really sparked this kind of blend of entrepreneurial but doing what I know how to do. And I was like, I can do this. Like, I can step in. I mean, this was a company that, had an immediate need for someone because, sadly there had been a death, in their company, and they needed someone ASAP. So I thought, can I really step in and just do this? And I did. And then I was like, and now I want to do this for everybody.
Go big or go home. Is
Right.
it right? Right.
Right.
So talk to us then about the name I Heart EBITDA, because you are creating a brand. I mean, maybe that part of it is your DNA and your roots, and part of it is your experience in media as well. But you didn't just set up Jennifer Yousem LLC and go to work. You said, this is going to become what everybody comes to ask. What I love it. I don't tell me about it, explain it, but tell us a bit about that thought process.
So, media in particular is very focused on top line growth. It's a big metric. And as a CFO, it's painstaking sometimes to not have at least a part of your eye on another part of the P&L. And so it started off almost as kind of not a joke, kind of started off as, a joke, a silly, a sticker. And then it grew. And when I was out looking for what my next role was going to be, getting back to this whole I'm not for everybody, I had an opportunity to say, these little pink cards that had I Heart EBITDA on them when I was, out networking. And I thought, they're going to remember me.
Absolutely. You're making an impression.
Yes. I mean, listen, enough finance people. I know I stand out when I'm in a group of finance people. And again, not for everybody, and that's okay.
Right.
And so that was a point in my life where I finally felt like I'm cool with not okay, and I'm cool with putting a thing in the sand where someone's going to say, this is a ridiculous thing, and toss it. Cool. Not for me. We're good.
You found the most efficient and effective way to go no go and have people go no go with Jennifer Yousem, right? It's almost like the filter was there, right? The filtering out mechanism.
I want to get to know quick.
Right.
I mean, that's the dragged out no is painful. Let's just get there now.
Right. And agree. If we're no go, that's fine. Right.
I'm totally fine with that. And in fact, there are a lot of clients, that I meet, where I'll say to them, I'm not a good fit for you, but I have somebody. So this isn't about, it is about doing what's best for my clients. And that's not always me.
Yeah. No, but I think I've never seen you ever challenge, question, comment, and opine with anything other than the intent to help bridge a gap and or to enhance or increase somebody's confidence or understanding or learning, to accelerate that, but also potentially reinforce or challenge. That's always been your intent. In fact, I talked to one of the CEOs of one of the companies that you've done work for, and his comment was, we needed a new sheriff. I got a new sheriff. And I'm happy the sheriff's here. And that's not a knock at or positioning finance with a pointy sphere or a gun in hand. More importantly, it's meant that he said that we needed someone who was going to be deliberate and candid, but at the same time rely upon the numbers to be the basis for his or her voice in this effort, and translate that effectively to people who may not have the same level of understanding about what those numbers mean.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That translation tool, and I will do anything in my power to help someone else understand a finance term. I don't think that finance has to only be for finance people. I think it tells a wonderful story of your business and can be a really powerful business tool. And that's what I love about this, because if I can get a founder, an entrepreneur, a CEO to really understand that, it opens a million doors.
So I see I Heart EBITDA as being the conduit for you to really play that fractional CFO role with the heart and ear and mind of the CEO, the board, the investor, the other functional leaders, the customers, the employees. But then you added supporting strategies to this dynamic and to your growth and your enterprise growth. What drove that opportunity, that decision, and what has it brought to you in what has been an extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? Bizarre, challenging a year like no other?
Yes, that we can all agree on. I at the risk of, I would say working myself out of a job, 90% of the people that come to me for fractional CFO work,
yes,
don't need a CFO. They need good bookkeeping and controlling. Their books are a mess. It's not what they need. So my business is really supporting strategies. And the thing that has been great is I can have oversight of their books while they're being done by my team on a day-to-day basis. And having that daily oversight allows me to answer questions at an elevated CFO level to guide them. I can say, here are the things that we're seeing now that we've cleaned your books up. These are some things, but really it's, to your point, as big of a misunderstanding as there is between finance and financial services. This idea that, accounting, finance, CFO, bookkeepers, it's all the same. It's not. And there is no use for intelligent CFO oversight if the bones aren't there.
I love it that you say that, because it is a differentiator for business leaders, entrepreneurs, owner operators to hear you say that, because they need to ensure that they are surrounding themselves and are bringing in someone like you who says very clearly, these are two very distinct and separate needs to be addressed, but without the other is a recipe for going nowhere. So I'm curious, as it relates to the talent of today and the talent of tomorrow, you certainly have had the opportunity to play a critical role in talent acquisition, to upskilling and talent development, to leadership and succession planning. How are you approaching all of that now as the CEO of I Heart EBITDA and the managing director and regional leader for supporting strategies? How are you approaching this in an increasingly complex world?
It is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I mean, I have hired and fired dozens of people over my corporate career. It is an entirely different discussion, thought process when it's about your own margins, your own training, your own payback period, all of those things. And then layering on top of that, supporting strategies is entirely virtual, right? So we have clients all over the United States that we serve, and I have staff all over the United States. So, and I've never met them.
Okay.
So you're hiring someone who you likely may never meet. You offer a flexible work environment, which prior to COVID was, I think, far more appealing because post-COVID flexibility includes kids and dogs and husbands and partners and all kinds of distractions. Before
Right.
it was like it sounded more appealing, and that's part of the problem, right? It's hard to find someone who, I'm clearly type A,
Yes.
who can embrace this Venn diagram of flexibility, type A, scrappy, thoughtful, quick, but detailed, and wants to grow. Yeah, I basically just shrunk it down to this.
So how are you identifying talent in this market? You obviously have hired successfully. You are, your businesses are growing and growing fast. In fact, I'm sure the demand is there. It's making sure you've got the supply of talent to meet that demand.
Yes.
What have you learned works in this day and age in terms of getting to go or no go on someone to join the team? You figured out go, no go on the client side.
Yes.
How about go, no go on the talent side?
So I'm very direct about what is important to me and for my clients, and what is less so. So for me, it's just about my clients getting served in the best way possible. And even though they've hired us as an outsourced bookkeeping and controller service, and it's fractional and virtual, for them to feel like we are in-house and part of their team.
Yeah, we. So you've got that possessive pronoun. We are in this.
We are all in this together. We are supporting you. We put 2 people on every account so that from a checks and balances, it's always there. But again, it's marrying that concept with, but I don't care if you want to work at midnight because that's what works for you and your kids are asleep. Cool. That's awesome too. And now, unfortunately, the thing that makes it a little bit harder to weed through people is there are so many people that have been displaced, but really would prefer a full-time job. So getting to know, normally it's easier to weed through people that say, no, I really do want a flexible environment. I really do want this. It's a little harder to get to a real answer. So it's been a struggle.
No, I bet, because you have always run towards something, not from something. And I assume you want that same mindset as it relates to both talent acquisition and client acquisition. You want them to want to be coming to you, not necessarily making a pit stop and or leaving, trying to just leave from where they are. Those are different triggers for as the catalyst to do this type of work.
Yeah, I don't have a 50% from a client service perspective or from a you're a part of the team perspective.
You're all in.
All in. And I keep and it's the same with my friends as well. I have a small circle of friends that will get 700% of me. And then I'm not big on acquaintances.
So wait, I have to ask, because that is the perfect catalyst for me to ask. What do you do outside of this 24/7, 365 opportunity you've created with supporting strategies and I Heart EBITDA, and the the close relationships you have, your circle in a in every other year other than 2020. What does that mean? And in 2020, what has it meant? How do you keep yourself charged, and where's that outlet? Hobby, interest.
I'm a big Mahjong fan.
All right. So
Yeah.
who knew?
Right. It is a very difficult game. Very difficult, much harder than people think. I cannot believe my grandma played it. So yes, big on that, and there's a big social aspect to that. So
Sure.
I'm missing that. I'm big, love to work out, used to love to dine out and drink out. Those are less prevalent. What has 2020 looked like? It has looked like me pouring every moment of every day into making this business as I want to grow an empire. I want to build this as big as I can, while still giving every single client, big, small, whatever, the exact same feel, touch, support that every client has. And so
I love that latter part of the equation matters to you so deeply. The sense of purpose and the feeling that it drives, then it probably will be the greatest source of accelerator to your growth, because it means that you will build relationships with the talent that you acquire and the clients you serve that allow you to have the difficult conversations, at the same time celebrate the successes as well and get a high from that.
From your mouth. I mean, listen, I'm going to say there's nothing I won't do for my, last week I was on the phone doing collections for one of my customers. Like, there's really nothing. I want everybody to feel, like I said, supported. And the biggest driver for me is, and you and I have talked about this, I think the middle market gets shafted sometimes, right? They talk about the small business, entrepreneurs, side hustles, things like that. And there's obviously the big corporations, but there is no reason that technology and people, amazing people and processes, cannot serve that market the same way and give them the same opportunity for success and scale.
Well, I love it. And having someone with your passion and your determination and your vision for growth means that those of us in the middle market are in for quite a ride, and we will all want to be a part of it. So where can the current and next generation of talent and the next round of clients find you, Jennifer? What's the most efficient and effective way for them to find you?
They can find me at supportingstrategies.com/queens. And they can learn a little bit about me and my blog at iHeartEBITDA.com.
Excellent. Well, Jennifer, this is like chapter 1 of a story that will continue throughout the course of the roaring 20s that we're now in. And we just hope that we can continue to have you share the key learnings and the key advice and counsel on your story going forward as part of our networks and on a future episode of Level Up. So on behalf of our listeners and our team, I thank you, Jennifer, for joining us today for the talent saying, I think I found my next boss. Make sure you visit supportingstrategies.com /queens or visit Jennifer's blog at I Heart EBITDA, and or connect with us and we will connect you directly with her. Thank you again, Jennifer. Stay well, stay safe, and stay connected.
Thanks so much, Nick.